Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to SimPlay Motorsport. My name is Dan Davis, and I'll be bringing you all the action once again live here at SimPlay Motorsport for the next round of the championship. And what a round we have ahead of us right now. We are here in South Africa for the next round of the season at round 8 of the championship. And like I said, what an event to look forward to. A circuit that definitely challenges the drivers here and pushed them right to the limit. But it's been an interesting season so far here in the Whodarron Cup, especially in these M2s. We thoroughly enjoyed racing these cars this season, and like I said, with the season coming to an end very, very quickly, only 3 rounds left, including tonight. It's definitely a championship we thoroughly enjoyed watching and experiencing with, and I have indeed. Once again, the top 2 in the championship will not be here tonight, that being Kieran O'Reilly and Sylth, both not able to make this evening, and means it opens the door to, once again, many other drivers to try and take some points away from them as best they possibly can. And one driver in particular who's closest to all of them is currently the man who is, I believe he's in pit lane. It's this man at the minute, Demonster, currently sat in 3rd in the championship, and could have an opportunity to claw some points back on them, but looking like he's struggling with pace currently at the minute. And obviously with the 3 different winners last time out, with Schwarbert, Demonster and Harris all taking race wins, I said those MSA boys have really allowed the door wide open for others to try to take an opportunity here to take wins and score some points. I see Gary Clarble in the chat, and also Matthew Duffin as well. Let's go, and evening all as you look forward to tonight's event. And speaking of tonight's event, we are here at the very I was going to say, let's say, established circuit that is Kyalami. A circuit that we probably wish we'd see more of, especially in the real world, i.e. like at Formula 1 or something like that. And then Formula 1 would class itself as a world championship because it comes to Africa. But we are in South Africa at this fantastic circuit with some of the iconic corners around this circuit as well. One that sticks to mind though is obviously that famous right-hand kink with the world's worst curb, known as the Cheetah corner. And a circuit that if you nail it here and you start to have a rhythm, this circuit is really enjoyable to drive. And I do put it up there as one of my favorites on ACC, and I do like racing here at Kyalami as well. These M2s though, they're going to be quite competitive, they're going to be quite close to one another, and it's going to be interesting to see how all the drivers take to the challenge here tonight. Regarding the championship standings, it looks like this. So it is Kieran O'Reilly who leads the way. He's 252 points ahead of then Sylph in 2nd place. Then 302 points back from Kieran O'Reilly is that of Demonster, who's only 4 clear of post currently at this moment in time. The points hasn't really worked out very well, but Ian McGowan's on 1,056 points, a couple of points behind post. Should be good tonight. Some rain around as well, says Duffin in the chat. Interesting to know. But McGowan sat P5 in the championship. Schwarber in P6 with Hibbs P7. P8 is Skunky. Wilbrink P9 with Harris in 10th. Flop in 11th. Varga 12th. Maiga in 13th, Ramsel 14th, Kowalski 15th, Nugamanov in 16th, and Mezin still mathematically in this championship, but Kieran O'Reilly obviously not racing here tonight, allows other drivers to stay within the championship and bring that gap down. Could be some good points that Mezin could get back. Marsden sit 18th with Aberdeen in 19th. Crespo in 21st with Wright 22nd. Gillies in 23rd with Anderson in 24th. Lee 25th. Shrolski 26th. Paro 27th. Jacket 28th. Smith 29th. Millington 30th. Radek 31st. Cox 32nd. Johnson 33rd. O 34th. And then we've got Crack at the back with 35th position. Well, obviously the way it works for this championship, we have a gold, silver and bronze class. White number means gold, grey means silver, and red means bronze. And then tonight, O'Reilly still leading the championship in the golds, of course, with Sil, Demonster, Post, McGowan, Schwarbert, Hibbs, Skunky, Harris, Flop, Ramsel, Kowalski, Mezin, Wright, Radek and Langley. Regarding the rest of the championship. Others, it's Will Brink who leads the silver class ahead of Varga, then Maiga, then Nugamanov, Aberdeen, Crespo, Gillies, Lee, Schwarski, Jacket, Millington, Cox. And regarding the bronze class, it's Marsden still leading the way quite comfortably ahead of Anderson in second, Paro in third, Smith in fourth, Johnson in fifth, O in sixth, and Crack in that last place position. So, like I said, a night of racing to look forward to, and as you can see, Mezin is looking particularly quick here as well. I must say, would have been here to try and give him a little bit of a headache, but by the looks of things, Skunky and McGowan are still going to give him a bit of a hard time as well. Currently a second off the pace, but I'm sure they'll find that time and work their way back towards the front and give Mezin a bit of a hard time. And obviously, by the looks of things, the silver driver will bring looking very good at the minute. P4 at the minute, doing it for the Apex Motorsport. Ahead of Lee and Varga currently for the bronze class. Regarding the bronze, Anderson's leading that at the minute. Marsden in 20. Excuse me. In 16th place position, and then ahead of Johnson as well. All those drivers currently in pit lane as we are coming to the end of this session. So guys, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell to be notified so you don't miss anything here at SimPlay Motorsport. One thing I forgot to mention as well, the championship standings looks like this. MSA leads the way ahead of the Casuals in second, Apex Motorsport in third, Autobahn United in fourth, Only Siders fifth, Greasy Bandits Racing in sixth, with Kozak Racing in seventh. Eighth is GBU Racing, and still mathematically in this championship. Meanwhile, SimPlay Racing is now out of the hunt for the championship, while Minex Racing is currently 10th. Team FBGB in 11th, Sodor Racing in 12th, Quantum Motorsport in 13th, Billy No Mates in 14th, Blacken Sim Hub in 15th, and then Team SPR not scoring a point this season. Right, 3 minutes left of this session, and as I said, it is looking the way of this man. Mezin looking very quick out in front, and Hibbs going through the cheetah currently now as well. For people who are new to this channel, the way the Whodarron Cup, we got 3 races here this evening, 3 races to come your way, and all 3 are only 20 minutes long. They're not very long at all, and they are going to be fast and intense for sure. Short sprint races, no pit stop required, and the top 8 in the championship are carrying ballast. Now obviously the top 2 aren't here, and they carry the top ballast, so O'Reilly would have had 40 kilos and Silth with 35, but the Monster will be carrying 30 kilos, Post 25, McGowan 20, Schwabert 15, Hibbs now 10, and Skunky will be carrying 5 kilos on board. So we'll see how they all get on, but Mezin is the one to beat currently at the minute, fastest of the session, with a second gap comfortably ahead of Skunky and McGowan. If you like what you see here at SimPlay Motorsport and you want to get yourself signed up and ready for the new season in the new year, then make sure you head over to the SimGrid and also Discord. Make sure you follow us on SimGrid and follow us on Discord as well. Once you've done all those fantastic things, then once we come to the new year, we will be looking to get sign-ups and things all sorted, ready to go for the brand new season that lies ahead. Obviously, we'll be having quite a big break through the Christmas period while everyone tries to regain and freshen themselves up, ready for the new season. A couple more guys in the chat. Marty Kane's in the chat. Evening, everyone. Anderson, pretty quick in the wet. He could be a surprise. And Varga in the chat, Mezin isn't human. What a lap. And it's good to see Mezin back. He's had a bit of time off recently. Had to have some time off to himself, but he is back and looking quick as ever, like he has done throughout most of this season. We got Anderson in the chat saying, evening all, hope you're to have some good fun in this racing tonight. And hopefully we do. Rams will find a little bit more pace towards the end of that session now. And he has crossed the line to do another lap. obviously with this session as well, we look to the qualifying sessions. The first session will be a 10-minute qualifying session, so plenty of time for the guys to get out there and get a lap done. But the next 2 sessions will be 7 minutes only. So a short qualifying session for them. It gives them only possibly 2 to 3 laps to get a lap time on the board. But that's the idea of it, is to put some drivers at risk and in jeopardy. And we'll see how they all get on this evening. So I said here, guys, if you like what you see, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell to be notified so you do not miss anything here at SimPlay Motorsport. And we look forward to this first race tonight. Who's going to be the one to beat this evening? I think Mezin, currently at the minute with his current form, is the one looking good and looking strong to try and take some decent points here tonight. And the Monster needs to do everything he possibly can to try and bring that points deficit down to the MSA boys. But yeah, I think it's going to be hard to do. But he'll gain some points on Silth and should overtake him in the championship. But after that, it's going to be tricky to try and hunt down O'Reilly with the healthy lead he has. It's definitely going to be a lot of work for him to do. As Ramsell now comes through the final corner with Marsden not too far behind to complete the practice session. And we head into the qualifying session very, very shortly. As into qualifying session we go. Drivers get their setups all loaded on and ready to go here. Who's going to take pole? We're looking possibly at probably Mezin to be the favourite to take pole position in this one. But like I said, anything can happen. And usually something does. Maiga is the first one out on track, so he's obviously going to be setting the early pace here tonight. So we'll see who will be able to out-qualify him. I said it's been a fantastic season nonetheless, and I said thoroughly enjoyed commentating on this entire season. As once Maiga comes into the final sector, we will go around with him for a lap of this fantastic circuit. He's got quite a few cars behind him. I think that might be Post and the Monster as well, all them queuing up behind. As I say, we get things ready to go here. Kyalami. I said a circuit you kind of want to be in a rhythm for and enjoy. As now Maiga comes into the cheetah and into the final few corners here to start a lap around Kyalami. Nice to see Rozowski in the chat. And we will go on board with Maiga as he takes us for a lap around this fantastic circuit here of Kyalami, heading down towards turn number 1. So I try and remember the names of the corners. But we head down to Crow Throne as turn number 1, braking at the 100-meter board to get the car slowed down as best they can into turn 1. The inside curb is quite large and easy to take too much curb and loosen the car up. As he heads through turn 2 and then 3, he then heads up towards turn 4, which is barbecue, and making sure he gets a good exit through there. Don't want to run too wide because you will invalidate your lap time and get the rear end loose, as he has just done. As he head then down towards the back straight, heading down towards Sunset, making sure he brakes just on the orange line on the right hand side, get the front end turned in, get it to bite and try and keep it pinned all the way around. The car will eventually grip as he then heads into the left hander of Clubhouse Bend. and heading down towards the famous S's around here. Very tricky to get these right. You want to just slow down and allow the car to turn in, control the speed, let it roll down and get back on the power as soon as you can. But it's very easy to run wide on the exit of the S's as you then head up towards the hairpin, braking just to the marshal board on the left hand side and try and get the front again to pinch in, but Maiga's just struggling with front end grip by the looks of things as he then tries to get a good exit and a good run through Mineshaft. As he goes through Mineshaft, he then heads down to the left-hander and then heads up to the Crocodiles, which is a very tricky sequence of corners, braking and turning at the same time, try and get the front to grip again. Don't take too much curb and run too wide as you then set yourself up to the dreaded cheetah. Send the car in onto the inside, try not to touch the yellow curb, and then head it into the final corner and brake in just past the 50-meter board, get the front end turned in, get a good exit, and then head to the line. As a good exit there from Maiga. Wilbrink did set the pace first, he did a 2:01 as Maiga sets the pace with a 57.4. Posto goes fastest of them all as Hibbs goes even quicker. McGowan as well goes to the top as they all come flooding in thick and fast as they all try to improve on their lap times. But McGowan setting the pace currently at the minute, top of the session, as Anderson now comes to the line, keeping an eye on who improves and who doesn't. He goes to P9 with that lap. And where is Mezin? He's in the final corner now as we speak. And Flop meanwhile goes into P3 position. Harris goes to P5. And Mezin goes straight to the top with a 55.6, a good lap time there from him. As Skunky's not allowed to qualify in this one, he has got a qualifying ban. But nonetheless, a solid lap there from Mezin to put him on pole. Meanwhile, we've got Crack, Ramsell and Marsden still to come to the line. As I'm on board with Crack and he crosses the line. And 21st, no lap time set for him currently at the minute. But Millington in the end gets himself up to 12th place position, and Ramsell I think crossed the line as well, and he puts himself in 10th place position also. So a good couple of early laps there from those guys. Marsden's currently on a lap at the minute and coming to the line. And I think ahead of him is Wilbrink as well. He's one of the early ones to set a lap time, and Wilbrink improves to go to P10. To the line now comes Marsden. No lap time set from him. Yes, in the chat from I think it's there is no Sylph or O'Reilly tonight. No, there is not, sadly. They are not here this evening again, so the door is wide open for anyone to take this one as Maiga now comes to the line and sets an improvement and goes into P6. Post 1 to keep an eye on 1.2 off the pace. Does he improve? No, he does not. McGowan, can he improve? He gets within 4/10 of Mezin. So lap times are improving and he's finding the time to beat as Schwarbert now crosses the line and goes into P3. So an improvement for him. DeMonster still down in 8th at the minute currently. Struggling here at Kyalami by the looks of things as Crespo crosses the line to go P9. Lee improves as Harris now goes to P3. A good qualifying session there from him. He goes 6/10 of the guys in front. Can he find any more time? That's the question. And Crack now comes to the line as well. Mezin, does he improve on his lap time? He he does not. But obviously still stays top of the session. Crack now coming through the final corner. What can he do here as he comes to the line? He gets lap time on the board, but only gets him ahead of the non-qualifiers so far. So Mezin still top of the session, still fastest overall, which is, like I said, going to be difficult for the guys to beat. But McGowan is there. He's giving him some company and showing him what he can do in these conditions. As they all come flooding around the final sector once again, and Maiga leading that group as they will set their last laps now coming Well, they'll start their final laps. So Maiga crosses the line, no improvement. Can Post improve? The Monster does improve. He goes to P7 with that one, and Post does as well. He goes fourth. 8/10 of a second now goes Hibbs, and 2/10 of a second goes McGowan. So he's getting closer. What can Schwarbert do? He stays P6 with that one. Flop didn't improve either. Ramsel is not quite there either. So Crespo now coming to the line. Can he improve? He does not. Anderson, is he going to improve on his lap time? No, he stays where he is. He's still relatively close though to Smith. So a good session for those guys in that class. As Maiga leading the silver. As I said that, Varga goes and improves on that lap time to then takes 9th place position. As you then got the, I think it's Ramsel now coming out of the final corner. And to the line now, what can Ramsel do? Is this going to be an improvement? It is. He finds a 10th, which gets him another position, a 1-2-6. That is crack. And he finds improvement, but stays 18th at the minute. Marsden not put a lap time together. Where is Wilbrink on the board? He is P12. So can he find an improvement coming to the line now? And 12th currently at the minute, and he improves to go to 10th place position. So a good session run there. He is going to get one more in, and he's probably going to be one of the last across the line also. So we'll see how he gets on towards the end of this session. But so far, so good for Mezin. Everyone else struggling to get near his pace. Guys, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell to be notified so you don't miss anything here at SimPlay Motorsport. As once again, they're all going to come flooding to the line, and it is the end of the session. McGowan, in the end, can only get within 0.4 of a second. Post improves to 4th, Flop 5th. Hibbs goes 6th. Schwarbert now comes to, he goes 7th with that attempt. And who else are we waiting for to come to the line? As Smith goes to the line and takes the lead of this bronze class. Can Anderson take it back? Yes, he does. So good lap time from him in the end. As Maiga did get another lap on the board, so he will find more time. As I believe it's the 59 coming to the line. It is Millington. As he crosses the line and stays where he is. And it's going to be Ramsel, his teammate. Can he find any improvement for himself? He does and goes P9, so a good couple of corners there for him, and he's managed to find the pace. And here comes Wilbrink, and we still got Marsden and Maiga still on another lap. But here comes Wilbrink now, currently 11th at the minute. Can he find that improvement now? To the line he comes, currently 11th at the moment in time, crosses the line and improves to go to 8th. So solid run there towards the end for him. And that is just left to Maiga to cross the line now. He's currently 12th at the minute. Can he find that pace in him? He does not, and that is the end of the session. So it's going to be Mezin who takes pole position ahead of McGowan, and we'll be interested to see how Skunky gets on when he is allowed to qualify in the next one. But Mezin takes pole position here for the first race here at Kyalami. So can Mezin take the win though? That's the question. Oh. Like I said, guys, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to notify so you don't miss anything here at SimPlay Motorsport. So I'm now doing the poll for your first race winner. said, it's going to be difficult for the guys to stick to Mezin, but I think McGowan's going to give it a real good go. If he gets a decent enough start, he should be able to try and send it into turn number 1 of Crow Thorn. But we'll see how he gets on with that. But the poll is out, so guys, you can vote for who you think is going to win this one.
Seconds. 10 seconds.
Make sure you also tune in later in the week, because we will have Pro-Am and Pro on circuit as well, taking on the challenge of Kyalami. As they now pull away, get themselves ready to go racing here. Looking forward to this one. It's going to be a fun race nonetheless. And like I say, can anyone challenge Mezin at the front? I think he's looking quick, he's looking competitive, so it's going to be a lot of work to stop him. But I'm sure all these guys are going to give it a very good go. So let's do a quick run through of the grid order. So it is Mezin who is on pole position, ahead of McGowan, who will start in second, Harris in third, Post in fourth, Flop in fifth place position, with Hibbs in sixth place, Schwarbert in seventh, with Wilbrink in eighth. Ninth is Demonster, with Ramsel in 10th. Varga is 11th, with Maiga in 12th. Crespo in 13th. Lee in 14th. Anderson in 15th. Smith in 16th place position, ahead of Lee. Then it's Marsden. Then it's going to be Crack, Skunky, and Johnson bringing up the rear. Guys, get your votes in on who you think is going to win this first race. Like I said, it's going to be hard to look away from the guys at the front. But Mezin, though, looking good, looking strong. Can he keep this momentum up as he goes into the race? Who knows? I know McGowan is going to do everything he possibly can. I don't think he has had a win this season yet, so he's definitely going to be trying to force his way through and gain those positions as best he possibly can. As they now come into the Crocodiles, getting ready to go racing for the first race tonight. Guys, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell to be notified so you don't miss anything here at SimPlay Motorsport. We're getting ready here for the first race this evening. Mezin versus McGowan on the front row. Who is going to take the crown here in the first race? As we now wait for starters orders here for the first race tonight. And we are green and go racing here at Kyalami. And Mezzi got a fantastic start. McGowan kind of nowhere, was in the wrong place at the wrong time as they head down towards turn number 1 now. And McGowan going defensive rather than attacking, as Post now looks to go around the outside of Harris and McGowan, but can't get the job done. Meanwhile, Wilbrink made a decent start. He's moved his way up a few places, but we see in this mid-pack here with Maiga and Varga. Varga's had to go off as he managed to avoid making contact with anything else. else? Yes, he has, as they all work their way through the left-hander of Barbecue, but everyone's managed to survive. Lee ended up going back into pit lane as the Monster there, I think, is having to go onto the curb. Is that the Monster? I think it might be. Yes, it is. Yeah, so he ended up on the dirt in the curb and has ended up having to lift and come out of that one. But Mezin got the start he would have wanted, but it's then a queue behind McGowan, Post, Harris, Hibbs, Flop, Schwarbert, Wilbrink, the Monster. Myga's going wheel to wheel. Skunky going from the back of the pack, already up to 11th place position. A great start for him, and has already worked his way through the order as best he possibly can. Leading the bronze, though, is Will Smith. It's Smith who's leading that class as Anderson looks to go back up the inside but can't quite get far enough alongside him, and we'll have to hold him off. Leading Silver, meanwhile, it is still Wilbrink who's going wheel to wheel with Schwarbert, and Schwarbert holds on to the outside, gives him just about racing room as they head up towards the Crocodiles. And Wilbrink will have to think better of it. It's not the easiest place to overtake around here in Kyalami, but if you do get the run, if you do get the opportunity, then you can get the job done. But everything has to work in your favour. Everyone looking like they survived the cheetah this time round. But once again, we look to that queue behind McGowan as he's trying his very, very best. As they head now down towards turn number 1. And McGowan still having to defend from Post and Harris, who are very, very racy at the minute. Hibbs is in the middle of that as well. Flop getting a jump that he would have wanted as well. He's really hassling the back of those guys. But at the minute, everyone else in order. Anderson still trying to chase down Smith. He seems to have him in raw pace, but at the minute seems to be struggling. Leading the bronze now is Anderson, as we see a couple of cars going wide. That's Johnson going wide. And Skunky sets fastest lap of the race. He's absolutely flying. He's now onto the back of the Monster. Even with those 5 kilos on board, he looks really racy here. But his teammate at the minute holding everybody up and possibly giving him an opportunity to try and work his way through the order as best he can. As Schwarbert now trying to hunt down his teammate. The Autobahn United cars working together as Wilbrink looks up the inside momentarily, but Schwarbert goes a little bit deep. He keeps making a little bit of a mistake there, but Flop meanwhile is on the attack on Hibbs. Hibbs possibly gone a little bit wide also, so that's allowing him to get alongside, but he's not able to get the overlap, and they're just now starting to lose touch on the guys in front. As Hibbs goes a little bit wide once again, and Flop looking to go up the inside of the cheetah. That's brave if you can get it to work. And so in that time round, Ramsel has hit the cheetah quite hard, but has manages to keep it together. Wilbrink now still attacking Schwarbert, and Schwarbert goes wide. And in the midst of all this is the Monster and Skunky as well, as they head down towards turn number 1. It's looking really racy here as they get relatively close to one another. Are about to go 4 wide into turn number 1. We'll keep an eye on Skunky because he's looking the most racy out of all these. Is he going to get 3 into 1? Skunky down the inside does get it done, but he outbrakes himself and makes contact with Hibbs, who goes wide and round. So Skunky misjudging his braking. He's also had a bit of a shove by the looks of things and has gone off and is bouncing all over the curb. So Flop is in the lead of this gaggle of cars. Ahead of Wilbrink, and then ahead of Schwarbert, I believe, and then De Monster, and where is Hibbs after all that? Hibbs has dropped right down the order. He's in 14th now, wasn't 5th. He's lost 9 places after that, so yeah, a little bit of an error from Skunky's side there, as Mezin still leads the way. Fastest lap of the race to his name as McGowan still got Post and Harris for company as they complete the top 4. Flop now pulling away from Wilbrink, as Wilbrink is in 6th ahead of Schwarbert. And then we have this gaggle of cars, which is Skunky, Myga, De Monster and Ramsel now also in this gaggle. And Skunky going, I think he was defending by the looks of things from Myga, and Myga now has to fall back into position. Oh, in the background there, Crespo taking a little bit too much dirt and runs a little bit wide. Meanwhile, Crack has got himself ahead of Smith. So Smith dropping down the order. Marsden, though, doing really well for the bronze class, holding it strong in 14th place position. And again, Wilbrink still leading that silver class, and obviously gold going the way of Mezin currently at the moment as they exit the final corner. But McGowan at the minute still trying to keep the rest at bay. As Harris now looks momentarily for a move on Post, and Post goes a little bit deep, but Harris can't do anything about it. Anyone else on the move? Looks like it's Marsden and Millington having a little side-by-side action, and Millington going to go up the inside of Marsden. Yes, he will. He'll get the job done. Oh, and Crespo has a slide there and drops down the order a little bit. Everyone else now just seems to be getting into a little bit of a groove here as Post goes a little bit wide, and Harris momentarily thinks about attacking the back of him. We go back, we got Wilbrink still defending from Schwarber. These two have been going at it since the start of this race. Wilbrink and Schwarbert are really pushing themselves here, trying to extend the gap as much as they can from one another, or bring the gap down. They have got trouble behind them. That's Skunky, who's hunting them down at a fast race and knots here, and they're chasing them down. Schwarbert there momentarily looked up the inside of the hairpin, but was not far enough alongside. Now McGowan seems to get into a little bit of a groove here and has pulled away from Post and Harris, who I think focusing too much on one another and not allowing them to get onto the back of McGowan, although McGowan's trying to go with Mezin, but Mezin comfortably out in front and looking strong here. As they all fold their way through the crocodile, as we see here, I think that's Johnson and Smith going wheel to wheel. Smith there still holding off Johnson, who's looking to make a meal with Ramsell. I think he's made a mistake somewhere. He ended up dropping down the order, maybe possibly hitting the crocodile. Who's that further back? That's Lee. Sorry, not the crocodile, the cheetah. So yeah, we'll see how things go from here. Meanwhile, Harris is now attacking Post. He looks up the inside of possibly of turn 3. Oh, sorry, turn 4, as he has a big slide there through the barbecue, but he manages to keep it together, manages to keep it facing the right way. But right now he's just struggling to find that gap to prise open and working his way through. Like I said, they're just having a good little scrap, these two, and looking want to try and get on the podium, and Harris wants to continue that podium streak after a great round at Spa, but right now can't find it at this moment in time. Skunky's now arrived on the scene to Schwarbert and Wilbrink, so that could get spicy. Meanwhile, Crespo and Marsden, they're close to one another. Looks like Crespo's had a better run through the S's. He's going to try and go around the outside, but that would be brave if he can get that done. It just allows the door to be open for Marsden to come, Anderson, sorry, to come up the inside and get the run he needs to then go back ahead of him and to try and chase down Marsden, who's leading the bronze class. And Anderson wants to bring back as many points as he can. Crespo touching the inside dirt and trying not to make contact, but ends up going wide, and off he goes and falls back into position. Meanwhile, back to the front, Mezin at the halfway stage now, looking like he is in control. Way out in front ahead of McGowan, Post and Harris. Then we've got Flop ahead of Wilbrink, and then ahead of Schwarbert and Skunky. And Skunky's looking to the inside of turn number 1. Not able to get it done there, but Schwarbert has gone wide, has made a mistake, and Skunky's going to try and go around the outside of 2 into 3, and we should have the inside for them 4. Schwarbert fighting, but not fighting too difficultly as Skunky takes a little bit too much curb, and Schwarbert then comes back on the attack. And Skunky in the end gaining that position and moving up to 7th place position. The mid-pack very quiet at the minute. Meanwhile, Millington's made a mistake because that's allowed Marsden, Anderson and Crespo all to slowly creep onto the back of him. Johnson still giving Smith a hard time. They go through the fast right-hander. As Harris once again looking to make a move on post. Post breaking that little bit earlier, making sure he makes the corner, but he goes a little bit wide, actually goes a little bit deep, and that's enough of an invitation for Harris to come up the inside, up and under, and through he goes. Job done there for Harris, and up into the podium positions for him. Can he hold on to it though as he gets towards the end of this race? Skunky meanwhile is now chasing down Wilbrink, his next target, as he started from the back of the pack. Meanwhile, Marsden still trying to pull away from Anderson as they're going to keep it a tight fight towards the end of this race. And Johnson and Smith also still racing hard. So far, so good in this race. It's been absolutely brilliant to watch. Some great racing and some fair racing as well. Everyone giving them each other racing room and respect, which is nice to see. As Johnson gets close to the back of Smith, again, just can't really do anything with the speed when he gets there. No real opening for him. As they head up towards turn number 1, Johnson relatively close. Is he going to send it up into turn number 1? He's going for the move as Smith just momentarily comes over across, and Johnson thinks better of it, but Smith has gone a bit deep, but not deep enough, and Johnson just has to fall back into position. A great scrap between these two. Bit of dirt being kicked up just ahead, as we see Crack getting onto the back of Crespo now, as Johnson momentarily looks to the inside but can't get far enough, as Anderson is now ahead of Marsden, so leads the bronze class. Harris though has still got post for company. He's still giving him something to think about towards the end of this race with 7 minutes still left to go. Skunky's still on the back of Wilbrink, so that could be spicy towards the end, as Marsden's still wanting that place back from Anderson, as every point counts in the silver in the bronze class. And Johnson still trying to find a way past on Smith, but no gap has opened up for him. Smith doing everything he needs to do, placing that car exactly where he needs to, so he does not lose any time whatsoever. So they're all spaced out, but still quite close to one another. Harris, meanwhile, since he's been released by post, has been slowly starting to bring the gap down to McGowan. So Harris here seems to have found a new amount of speed out of nowhere since Spa, and has found a pace to go with the guys in front. As now Skunky is right on the back bumper, Wilbrink, as they head up towards turn number 1. Not quite close enough at this time round to send it up the inside. As Skunky, oh, there's the opportunity Skunky needed, as Wilbrink goes slightly wide, and that just allows the gold driver through, and Skunky gaining another position there and working his up towards his teammate. So considering Skunky started from the back of the pack, he's looking good at the minute to get possibly a top 5 positioning if he can catch Flop towards the end of this race. But he is trying his very best right now to catch him. As Post is still going with Harris ahead. Harris has actually gone very deep in the hairpin, but manages to get away with it. Meanwhile, Hibbs got close to Varga, but cut the dirt a little bit, as Anderson still trying to defend off Marsden. Now Ramsell's joined the party between these three, so Ramsell has found a way on Johnson. Can he find a way on Smith now as they head up towards the top of the hill? Ramsell looked left, now he's going to the right hand side. He's trying to get the cut back on Smith. Smith goes deep, and that seems to be the favoured overtaken line, and I'm pretty sure Johnson's probably taken note of that. And Ramsell now gets back in front of them. Crespo once again gets a little bit deep through the Crocodile, and Anderson is slow through there, and Marsden possibly looking on the inside of further back. I saw Smith and Johnson once again going wheel to wheel, but not close enough. It gave a small opening for Marsden to have a look at the inside of the Cheetah, but not really a corner you want to be trying to overtake on. Harris, meanwhile, still ahead of Post, but only just. Post is really giving him a hard time towards the end of this stint. And that's, again, allowed McGowan just to extend his gap. Momentarily, they were being caught, but that gap has extended. But Mezen out in front. 6 seconds is the gap between him and McGowan, and has not looked back since. A great fight for him. To try a good night to score some points back, as McGowan is sat second, Harris third, then it's Post in that fourth place, then Flop, Skunky, Wilbrink, Schwarbert, Maiga, DeMonster, Varga, Hibbs, Millington, Anderson, Marsden, Crespo, Crack, Ramsell, Smith, Johnson, and then Lee bringing up the rear. 3 minutes left to go of this session. All still to play for. As Smith goes down into the S's. Johnson quite close to the back of him again, but can't seem to find any opportunity. Maiga, meanwhile, under pressure from DeMonster, as I think Harris there gets onto the dirt coming out of the Cheetah. So Post gets a little bit closer once again. Skunky hasn't really dropped Wilbrink and has not really caught onto the back of Flop, so he's just struggling to catch the guys in front. But DeMonster now right on the back bumper of Maiga, and see if he can find a way through on Maiga and try and gain some points. As they're pushing right to the very end, which is great to see from these Whodarron Cup drivers. Through the S's they go at the first sector, and Maiga just puts his car in the right place. Varga also now starting to slowly creep onto the back. Monster, can he find an opportunity to worm his way past the car in front? As actually he's losing a little bit of time there going through the S's. So now he's actually under attack from Varga, who's going to look up the inside of the hairpin. Oh, for a moment he thought about it, but he wasn't far enough. DeMonster makes a mistake. He lights up the rear, or maybe Varga's made slight contact with him that we couldn't quite see. But Varga makes a mistake by possibly hitting the back of him, and DeMonster loses a position now to Hibbs, but he's still there with him. So Maiga has been set free. Lucky in that one with the contact between Varga and DeMonster. But Varga instantly giving up that time and position back. What a shame there for DeMonster. Hibbs running very, very wide there by the looks of things. Smith well ahead of Johnson now, who's got major damage to the front end of his car. So I think that fight between those two is done and dusted. Anderson has pulled away from Johnson. Marsden's ended up behind Crespo. And yeah, it's all starting to happen towards the end as we are on the final lap here. And Skunky, once again, has now caught right onto the back of Flop. Took him pretty much to the final lap to catch him, but can he get him right at the very end? Post still giving Harris a hard, a bit of a push and a shove to try and find a way through, but cannot get the momentum out of the car. But Skunky really pushing as hard as he can. Can he gain on Flop? Meanwhile, Varga still trying to find a way through on De Monster. Crespo now up the inside of Anderson. So Crespo gets the job done and up into 14th place position. That helps out Marsden in the Bronze Championship. But a position gain there for Crespo. Skunky, though, agonizingly close to the back of Flop. Can he get him towards the end of this race? But we have to go back to your race leader, who has been on pole, sent it in turn one and has not looked back. Mezin, fastest lap, pole position, and race win for him here at Kyalami. That's how you return back to the championship. Mezin wins race one here at Kyalami. Congratulations to him. McGowan now exits the final corner and takes a solid P2 on that one. Harris is going to complete the podium in P3 with Post in P4, and Skunky trying to get Flop right at the very end, but Flop is just going to hang in there ahead of Skunky, ahead of Wilbrink, ahead of Schwarbert, then Maiga in that second silver class. Wilbrink takes wind in silver. Hibbs takes 10th, then it's DeMonster in 11th, Varga 12th. Millington is going to round off in 13th place position. So good drive from him. Crespo is going to finish in 14th, ahead of then Anderson, who takes bronze win. Marsden in 16th. Then it's going to be Crack just ahead of Ramsor at the line. Smith is going to finish in 19th place position. And Johnson is going to round out the top 20 with Lee, with major damage to the front end of his car, in 21st position. But Mezin takes the first win here at Kyalami. We'll be right back as we go for a quick break, and we'll bring you the action for race 2 in a few moments' time. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we are now back into the qualifying session here for race number 2. All the drivers now out on circuit to try and get the best possible opportunities they can. Car in pit lane currently at the minute is the 663 of Johnson, as they all get themselves into the final sector as Maiga now comes out of the final corner, and once again he is first one out on track, and he is going to get the best of the conditions, or he's going to get the clean air at least, as in about 10 minutes time there is rain. So rain is forecast and it is on its way. So obviously these guys should be fine for this session. Could be very, very soon. So we could see some rain going into race 2, which could be quite exciting going into this one. And we'll really throw the spanners in the works for who is going to take the crown in this one. As Maiga there trying to set a good lap here, trying to get the clean air, trying to get the runs he needs. As he sweeps his way through the corners. And can Mezin get another pole position and take another race win? That is the question. And Duffin in the chat saying rain, rain, rain. As I think he's been looking forward to a bit of rain action, but we are aboard with Maiga currently, and he's coming into the final sector now. And what is this going to be for him? A 55 is what we're looking at. A low 55 will be a good pole position time. That was what Mezin set in the first session. And into the final corner we go. Can Maiga set the pace here? To the line comes Maiga. What's it going to be? A 56.9. Post now to the line at 56.5, so he finds the pace he needs. As now DeMonster crosses the line. Only 1.5 off the pace as McGowan and Skunky straight away go to the top. As also Schwarbert there gets with behind his teammate, as Varga now crosses the line and goes P7. Where is Mezin on track? He's coming to the line now. Is he going to the top of the board? Yes, he does, with a 55.1. That was an absolutely scorcher of a lap time, as Will Brink now goes P2 as well. So good lap time from him, as all these guys will want to desperately get these laps in. Who else is on a good lap? Harris puts himself up into P5. So good points for good positioning for him. And just one driver now coming to the line. Who is that? That's Marsden, and no lap time set for him currently. So Anderson, Johnson, Marsden and Ramsdell, the only ones not yet to set a lap time. But it is Mezin who sets the pace at the minute with a 55.1. Tips doing rain dance now, says in the chat. It's not going to hit in this qualifying session. I know that for a fact, because the rain is 10 minutes away. Or within the time now and 10 minutes time, so rain could happen literally in the last couple of laps here, as Maiga goes very, very wide. That's going to ruin that lap, but he will get him ready to set himself up for the next one. Just behind him is Post, who is on a lap, and then you got DeMonster and McGowan, I think is just behind him as well. Yes, it is. Skunky seems to enjoy this circuit. He seems ready to be quick around here as Post comes to the line. Does he improve? No, he doesn't. McGowan and Skunky now in tangent, and neither one improve. Flop though does and goes to P2, so good lap time from him, as Hibbs now goes to P8, as Varga now takes that away from him. DeMonster is still in P12, so he's struggling at the minute. Smith is leading the bronze class ahead of Anderson, and all these guys are going to get one more lap in. Is Marsden though going to make it to the line, or is he going to just miss out? As he now comes into the final corner now, I think he's just going to make the line. I think he's just going to do it. Or am I wrong? It's going to be tight. Marsden does cross the line. He does get a lap time on the board. And more importantly, he does get another attempt. He's currently 17th with that attempt. So can he find any more lap time in him to get him any higher? That is the question. Running wide, there he goes, and into the wall he goes, and that's him done. Harris is done, and also is Varga. Mezin still though on a lap, as is Flop, as is Wilbrink, and as is the 38. And that is Post. Maiga has returned to pit lane by the looks of things, or he's on a lap, but he's dropped into the pack. But it's going to be Post now coming to the line. And he's currently 1.2 off the pace. Has he found any more lap time in him? He crosses the line now. And he does improve on one position. As now we see Skunky come to the line with McGowan. And McGowan improves, as does Skunky. They go to the top. And go second and third with that one. They get close to Mezin in the end, but not quite close enough. As now we see Anderson in the end 17th fastest of the bronze. Unless Smith can deny that from him. No, he cannot. And that is pretty much it. As now Millington comes to the line. Is he going to find an improvement? He does. Will Lee find one as well? No, he doesn't. And just as they all cross the line, the rain starts. As who's on a lap there at the end? That was Crespo, who was just about to complete a lap. He did improve even with the rain hitting in the final corner. But it is Mezin on pole with a 55.0. So we'll see how this one all pans out. Will the rain stay in for the race? That is the question. But literally, as the session ended, it started to rain. And there we go, we have got wet conditions here. So these guys just been qualified in the dry. I don't know if they've been testing in the dry. But here we are in wet conditions. What a session this is going to be. Oh yeah, baby. What the hell? Says Varga in the chat. This is going to be a spicy race. Has Mezin got the pace now too? Has he got the pace to stay ahead of the casuals? Or can they, even in the wet conditions, try and threaten him? Those are all questions we're about to have answered very, very shortly. But wow, what a qualifying session that was. The casuals got close, but not quite close enough. Here we go with the wet weather. It is going to be a spicy one. I'm looking forward to this one. Guys, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell to be notified so you don't miss anything here at SimPlay Motorsport.
20 seconds.
I said it is going to be a fascinating one, this one. I look forward to seeing how this all pans out here as we're about to pull away from the grid and go racing here at Kyalami. Mezin pulls away as the wet conditions now come down. A quick run through of the grid order, shall we? It is Mezin who will start on pole position. Alongside him will be Skunky and McGowan starting in third. Flop will start in fourth. Wilbrink will be fifth. Harris in sixth. Post in seventh. Eighth is Ramsell. Ninth is Hibbs. Varga in 10th with Schwarbert in 11th. Lee in 12th, Millington in 13th, Crespo 14th, Maiga in 15th, DeMonster in 16th, Anderson in 17th, Marsden 18th, Smith 19th, Crack 20th, and Johnson bringing up the rear. So let's have a look in general for the views for the drivers. So if we go on board with Mezin himself, so that's kind of his view. That's what he sees. It's going to be pretty clear for him, and as you can see, everyone else now files past. If we go towards the back of the pack, let's go on board with Crack, and that's basically what he sees. Yeah, that's you can just about see Smith's lights. Luckily, Smith has got a very, very bright car, and you can see his car quite clearly, but if you go on board with him, you can barely see Marsden's car at all. And until the guys actually start turning, you can then start to see the cars come through. But yeah, Mezin has definitely got the clearer view, as will Skunky as well. He's only got Mezin's spray to worry about, as they all get a bit close, I think, for their for the deltas, because they always seem to be stopping and starting quite aggressively, unless they're just trying to get tyre temperature and brake temperature into the cars as best they possibly can. Before we hit green here tonight at Kyalami. As I said, it's going to be a fun race, this one. Very much looking forward to this. This is going to be an interesting one indeed. Wet weather on circuit. Who is going to come out on top? That is the question. Can Mezin take another race win? He took pole position once again. Can he do it again here? That is the question. Or can Skunky stop him? Or can anyone else stop him? That is the question. As we now look to starters' orders here as they come through the final few corners here. We now wait for the start of the race. And we are green and go racing here at Kyalami, and Skunky got the jump. He got what he needed to do, and he's going to look to go around the outside of turn number one, as it's him and Mezin heading down to the hairpin. But is Mezin just far enough alongside? Yes, he is. He brakes later and goes in a little bit deeper, but gets the car stopped, more importantly, and makes it into turn number one. Everyone else, meanwhile, try and negotiate these tricky conditions to stay off the curbs as they possibly can, as Crespo has touched the curbs and gone a little bit wide. But as they all head up towards the barbecue, they all make sure they feed into position, and there Mazda's just messed his break-ins and hit the back of Crespo. As you can see there, Sky struggling for grip as it managed to work their way through the right-hander, but Mezin with a good start there, but he's still got Skunky for company. As you can see there, Mezin's gone wide, and Skunky now looking to go around the outside and try and get the job done on the number 2 driver, but he's struggling, and Skunky down the inside. Is the Casuals finally going to get a race win, because Skunky is up the inside going into the S's, and he gets it done, but Mezin looking to come back at him. Heading up towards the hairpin now, Skunky has got the job done, but coming up behind them is Flop and McGowan. They're not too far behind, but Mezin needs to re-clear that position back again on Skunky and try and build the gap. Skunky gives him the racing room, but Mezin can't get the job done. Meanwhile, Flop went for the outside grip, and he has found it, and he found tremendous pace out there and gets the jump done on Mezin. So Mezin loses another position out to Flop there. And now he's in the clutches of McGowan. So McGowan now onto the back bumper of him. Meanwhile, that was Ramsell bouncing all over the grass and curb as he just struggles to get grip. Everyone else, meanwhile, fighting out hard as Varga goes off very, very wide and comes back on circuit. Just ahead of Johnson, nearly making contact with him. Meanwhile, McGowan is going to be giving Mezin a bit of a hard time. I say that, and Mezin's actually pulled away from McGowan, and Harris now is on the back of McGowan and giving him something to think about. As they head up towards turn number 1, Skunky got the jump he needed, and he leads the way. Meanwhile, Harris attacking McGowan. He's going to look to the outside of the hairpin. Couldn't quite get far enough alongside to do anything about that, so he'll have to regroup and think another way of doing it. Meanwhile, Flop is absolutely flying in these wet conditions. He's thriving from these conditions and really got onto the back of Skunky now and giving him something to think about. Meanwhile, Anderson is struggling with Johnson and Smith, and it's probably where it's going to get wetter as the session goes on by the looks of things. As Harris now onto the back of McGowan once again, who's still trying to go with Mezin, but Mezin not able to. But Flop looking rapid at the minute, right at the front with Skunky. But Skunky seems to be starting to get into a little bit of a rhythm and starting to find where the grip is. Meanwhile, Lee's still got post for company, who's struggling in these wet conditions. Myga right on the back bumper of Millington, and Millington thriving from these conditions as well, as the monster goes a little bit wide, and Schwarbert now comes up the inside of him, but he's going to be on the outside for the hairpin. Meanwhile, further up, Myga looks up the inside of Millington, and couldn't get the job done there. DeMonster, meanwhile, did go wide, but obviously there seems to be a lot of grip on the outside of that hairpin, and has managed to hold off Schwarbert and actually pull away. Meanwhile, McGowan once again getting close to Mezin. Mezin struggling in these wet conditions, so he's not going to make it from 2 for 2 here, because he's in these tricky wet conditions. And right now, McGowan wants to try and give him a little bit of a hard time so that Skunky can have a better opportunity of winning this race as he pulls away from Flop. Is Skunky going to set fast lap of the race now? No, he doesn't. So, yeah, Skunky looking good at this time. Meanwhile, Myga gets ahead of Millington. As Millington looks to try and make a move on Myga, but can't do it. DeMonster now behind him. And just behind him, Schwarbert makes contact with DeMonster, and around he goes. Schwarbert is waiting for him, and hopefully will retain that position and give him the position back. But just in these wet conditions, it's very easy to make that slight error, that slight mistake, and that is it. You're in trouble then. Through the right-hander goes Millington, still sticking to the back of Myga. Meanwhile, Mezin still got McGowan and Harris for company. Ramsell now looking up the inside of Wilbrink. He's going to be on the outside of the S's, but again, there seems to be grip on the outside of corners, and Ramsell gains a position. Here comes Hibbs now. He's going to look to the inside of the hairpin. But as we've learned, there seems to be grip on the outside of the corners. So if Wilbrink can keep his nose there, he's opted for the up and under. But as you can see, Hibbs just grips up and away he goes. And yeah, nothing that Wilbrink can do. He's lost another position there to Hibbs. As Mezin just again looks like he's just struggling to get the car to turn in, to get it to grip. He's run a little bit wide onto the curb, and that is going to put him under some pressure going into the cheetah. He hits the curb quite hard, runs it wide, and very cautious. A stop and go penalty for Crespo for speeding in the pit lane. So obviously he needed to pit earlier. Lee, meanwhile, looking up the inside of Hibbs, but can't find a way through. Wilbrink's ended up dropping to the back of this group, and is about to be passed by his teammate Post, who goes through. Vargan now ahead of DeMonster, ahead of Schwarbert, and ahead of Crack. Anderson trying to catch onto the back of Crack, but Crack's looking quite good. Smith ended up in pit lane for some reason, not sure what. But Skunky meanwhile pulling away quite comfortably out in front, and Flop in that solid P2 position. Mezin starting to get into a groove, I think, as McGowan Still there or thereabouts. He seems to be much better in the first sector, but then it comes to this middle sector, and Mezin just seems to struggle with something with the car. I'm not sure exactly what, but he seems a lot understeery to others. McGowan, though, not too far behind with Harris, just behind Ramsel, Hibbs, Lee, Post, Wilbrink, Maiger, Millington, Varga. Then it's Schwarber, De Monster. No, De Monster's now... De Monster, then Crack, Anderson, Johnson, Marsden, Smith, Crespo, and that is your running order. I'm not sure what's happened to De Monster. He was with Schwarbert. He's still with Schwarbert, sorry. But for a moment there, looks like Crack got ahead of him, but he hasn't now. Schwarbert tries to brake later. He goes a bit too deep. I know there's grip on the outside of that corner, but when you go too deep and you just understeer wide, you just allow the car on the inside to get back through. So job done there for De Monster. Meanwhile, Harris is harassing the back of McGowan as Hibbs goes wide. That's going to allow a Lee through. Yes, it is. And Post, Wilbrink and Maiger also catching onto the back of this pack, and not too far behind them as well is Millington as well. So the wet once again showing its equalizer as Mezin seems to have found a groove and found a gear. He's gone fastest lap of this session and now looks to try and hunt down Flop and try and find a way through on him. Meanwhile, we look to the train that is being led by Lee, was held up by Hibbs earlier on as they all search for the grip. Fascinating race that is upholding us right now, and what we hoped would happen has happened, and that is Skunky really giving a fight to Mezin in this one, and he's starting to pull away, but obviously Flop is still within reach. One mistake from Skunky and that is it. He's in the clutches of the cars behind. Oh, and there you can see Lee makes a little mistake. Hibbs momentarily think I could get through there as Millington and Maiger have dropped off the back. Just ahead of this group is Ramsel in a solid P6 at the minute. And I say Mezin was on a run. He's actually under pressure again from McGowan and Harris. Harris looking up the inside of McGowan, but chose to go to the outside in the end. Couldn't find the gap he needed, but Mezin goes a little bit wide. Mezin again, just like I said, just seems to be struggling as McGowan goes very, very wide there. He's going to, could he make bad run of that? And Harris, even himself, has gone wide himself. So these drivers really pushing the limits and trying to find the edge of grip. And yeah, they're just making a couple of silly errors here, left, right and centre. But still awesome racing nonetheless. Mezin now pulling away from McGowan, who had that slight error. As they now head up to turn number 1 once again. Pack just spreading out ever so slightly as we look back to Hibbs and Lee, who are in the middle of a titanic fight with the Apex Motorsport boys right behind them. And just going on to the curb a little bit too much there was Post. As Maiger and Millington once again starting to bring the gap down. Varga pulling away from De Monster and Schwarber, not the race they would have wanted. Crack and Anderson, that's the fight going for the bronze class, ahead of Johnson, ahead of Marsden and ahead of Smith. So Marsden losing points to his bronze championship competitors as Skunky's made a mistake. Skunky has made an error somewhere and has lost the lead. Flop now leads this race, and he needs to try and gain that position back before Mezin gets onto the back of him and tries to find a way through also. But Skunky losing the lead here, and Flop now leads this race. So I'm not sure exactly what happened to Skunky, but some form of error has fallen into place and he has dropped behind the Autobahn United driver as Mezin once again taking too much speed, braking too late, goes wide on the exit of the Crocodile, and that might be enough for McGowan to go through. Yes, it is, through on the Cheetah, but he's going to run wide, and Mezin holds off in that third place position by the skin of his teeth there. McGowan taking too much speed into the Cheetah, saw his prime opportunity. Meanwhile, Skunky is on the attack of Flop. So whatever error he's made, Skunky is trying to build that back up and try and find a way through. He's on the back of the Autobahn United car, but can't find a way through into turn number 1. He'll have to be patient. He knows there's grip on the outside of the circuit, so it will come to him. Hibbs, meanwhile, as we've lost Lee in Lee's in the middle of this pack, but Hibbs now in front of all this lot as Post looks to go around the outside of Hibbs. He tries to grip up as Wilbrink is close, and Wilbrink also holding off Maiga behind them. But what awesome racing here. As now Varga, Millington and Lee all creep onto the back of this group. Schwarber and the Monster I don't think are going to get onto terms with these guys. Marsden had to pit, so he's made an error somewhere as Skunky momentarily for a moment looked like he was going wheel to wheel with Flop, but Flop doing what he needs to do at the minute to keep Skunky behind for the Casuals team. Mezin though trying to go with them as McGowan back again with Harris right up his bumper. Oh, and Lee's had a big moment. He's ended up in the wall, touched too much curb on the outside, and around he goes, and he'll try and return back onto circuit as cleanly as he possibly can. And once again, Skunky's pretty much pushing Flop. He needs to get this done quickly because the longer they take, the more chance that Mezin's going to catch him. McGowan's brake too late. He's gone wide. Harris now goes through. So Harris gains that position. And quietly minding his own business in the foreground is that of Ramsell. And the way these are driving at the minute at the front, he could end up onto the back of him towards the end of this race. But we shall see. But Skunky still trying to retain that position, that lead back. He knows this could be his only opportunity to possibly win a race if the MSA boys decide to make a return for the next round of the championship. Will be COTA, the Circuit of the Americas, the penultimate round of the season. And with Donington Park leaning towards slowly, we shall see how this all pans out towards the back end of this season. But O'Reilly, championship leader, he's got quite a hefty gap, but Mezin at the minute trying to outscore as many points as he possibly can to get back into the top 10 fight. But Skunky in the top 8 currently at the minute, but trying everything he can to score as many points as he can. McGowan and Harris gained good points, but it's the Monster who was the closest championship rival to O'Reilly, and he's not winning tonight, so he's not going to gain that massive amount of points on them. He will outscore Silth as they go into the final few rounds of the season. But here Skunky cannot find a way through. Flop is doing everything right. Oh, Mezin's had a moment. He's had a big moment. He's in the wall, and he's luckily tapped that square on and has gone the right way. He's going to try and keep the car under control, but he will get back on track and loses out to Ramsell, so drops down to 6th place position. So Mezin, a very rare error from him, and he drops down the order. So now Flop as Harris, like I said, up into the P3 position once again. So Harris, another great round here at Kyalami, seems to have found his feet in these M2s. Oh, in contact there as Flop and Skunky come together, and Harris will possibly lead this race. He goes into the Cheetah. Yes, he does. Harris now leads this race ahead of McGowan. No, Skunky's got going, so Skunky's probably going to take the penalty, whatever comes his way. But Skunky there, contact with Flop, and that might be for the stewards as Mezin takes too much curb. He goes too much on the power. He goes round, spins the back end round, and he drops down the order. He now drops down behind Wilbrink Varga. Where's Millington? Millington's had his own spin as well, so he's off as well. So these wet conditions really affecting these guys towards the end of this race. Where's Flop? There he is. He's behind Ramsel now. But Flop and Skunky were both leading this race, and they've handed the lead now to Harris. Wow, what a dramatic race this has turned into. Mezin, in the end, has got going, and he's dropped down to 12th place position. A little bit of damage to the front end of the car, but you can see the back end of that car is not happy. It is sliding a lot as Hibbs now pulls away from Post and Micah and Wilbrink. Micah's in a little bit of an Apex Motorsport sandwich at the minute as Post goes a little bit wide as... these guys are just hanging in there. These wet conditions, it's got more and more intense as they go on. But Skunky now losing out to Harris, and Harris pulling away quite comfortably now away from the casuals. So Ramsel here could possibly get a podium here. If Skunky receives a penalty, he might get a podium at the end of this one. It depends if Flop puts it in. And we see here once again the Apex Motorsport sandwich coming into effect here as Post, Micah and Wilbrink going wheel to wheel. Lee's had to end up in the pits, as has Marston. So Marston's going to lose valuable championship points here. Micah momentarily looked to make a move on Post. Post goes wide on the exit of the Crocodiles. He's ended up on the curbs. He's going to struggle for grip. And Micah goes swooping around the outside to then have the inside of the Cheetah. They give each other racing room. They do. And great racing between them. Leader starts the final lap of the race as Micah now trying to go around the outside, but he's now got Wilbrink, who's going to try and salvage and save his teammate here and come up the inside and attack him. And oh no, didn't want to do that, but Micah did get the better grip and the better exit on the outside of the hairpin, and he's pulling away now. But Post will be on the inside of turn number one. He'll try and outbrake the independent driver, and he will do. But again, Micah will be on the outside. Wilbrink now looking to the inside as they all go a little bit deep, a little bit wide, and it's a proper Apex Motorsport sandwich now as Micah, Post and Wilbrink, how they don't come together, I do not know. Good, clean, fair racing there, and Micah gets the position done. Brilliant stuff there from those guys. Meanwhile, Millington onto the back of Skunky, and Harris is long gone into the distance, 2.3 down the road. He's quite comfortable. Ramsel, meanwhile, has still got Flop for company. Ahead of Hibbs and ahead of Micah in this epic fight between those guys. Varga looked like he had a bit of a moment there. And Mezin, a race to forget for this one. 12th and fastest lap of the race, but that's not really going to help him out too much. Can Flop find a way on Ramsel? But we can see there, that's Smith gone off big time. He's got major damage to the front end of his car. But coming now into the final few corners here. What a drive from this man. Harris just keeps his nose clean. The wet weather is the equalizer, and it has shown what it can do here in Kyalami. Through the final corner they go. Skunky, I think, is a note, he's still in that second place position. But Harris from Team FBR, Team FBGB exits the final corner to take a great win, a well-deserved win for Michael Harris. He wins race 2. There's Skunky in P2, McGowan P3 rounding off the top 3, Ramsel P4, Flop P5, Hibbs is going to finish in P6, Micah is going to round off in P7, then it's Post in P8, Wilbrink P9, Varga P10, and then it is going to be Mezin for 11th and fastest lap of the race. Schwarber, I think the Monster finishes in 12th. That's Lee just ahead of him. Schwarber in 13th. Then it's going to be Anderson in 14th. Crack in 15th. Johnson in 16th. Millington is going to round off in 17th place position and ahead of Crespo, who Smith finishes 18th, Lee 19th, Crespo 20th, and Marsden in 21st position. But Michael Harris wins the second race in these wet conditions here at Kyalami. We'll be back in a few moments' time with the third and final qualifying session and race. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we are now heading into the third and final qualifying session of the evening. And as you can see, it's raining once again. The rain has come down, and it's not come down as a shower. It's absolutely hooning it down. Who's going to take the pole position in this one? That is the question. It is going to be a tight one in this championship towards the end anyway. Regarding the points championship, the points has come down quite dramatically, actually, even with 2 races done. Obviously, drop score is still yet to be taken into account, but obviously, O'Reilly with 2 races not turning up as a Silth has really dropped them back into the championship. And yeah, Mezin is now mathematically out of the championship, but O'Reilly still leads the way. But his next championship contender is this man. It is McGowan, who sits second in post, only 2 points behind. He's only 6 points behind him as well. So yes, the gap is still quite large. It's 172 points, but if O'Reilly has a couple of rounds where he's struggling, McGowan could take this fight back to him. But we'll see how this session goes. Obviously, we still need to see what happens regarding penalties and anything from that previous race, because obviously there was a little bit of contact, and like I said, we'll see how that comes out. But either way, it is going to be an interesting session ahead of us, and yeah, looking forward to this one. Looking forward to see how this championship falls into place with, like I said, only 2 rounds left and all the points still to gain. Anything can happen towards the end of the season. Absolutely anyone, and anyone can come back and try and take the title. But at the minute, these guys are in their qualifying session, and they're into the last midst of it as well. So they're going to be starting to set their pace. Post sets the pace at the minute with a 2:04. So he goes fastest overall. And out of the final corner comes McGowan, and Hibbs now does a 2:03.7. What can McGowan do as he crosses the line? He goes fastest with a 2:03.5. Wilbrink knows a 3:1. He goes to the top, and Flop gets within 0.2 of him. It is very intense out there to get a decent lap time. Where is this man going to feed in and all of that? That's the question. And Skunky as well. Harris as well, another one to keep an eye on. But Harris with that race win, looking good. As out the final corner comes Mezin, and to the line he goes. Will he go top? Yes, he will, by half a second as well. So a very quick lap time from him. But Harris then beats him 0.4 of a second faster than him as well. So Harris really loving these wet conditions here, and he goes fastest overall. He's got 1 lap though. This is his last attempt on this one. Who was the first one to cross the line? It was, I believe, Wilbrink was the first one. No, it wasn't. It was Post. So everyone out on track other than Marsden and Johnson. This is an interesting thing. Anyone can do something now. Anyone can indeed. And like I said, with O'Reilly not being here to really score any points, and allowing himself to drop into the championship, yeah, has really allowed these guys back in and an opportunity to try and score some good and decent points and try and take the fight to him. But here comes Post through the cheetah now, and heading into the final corner of the hairpin. Can Post get a good exit, and he now heads to the line? And will he improve? 1.7 off the pace currently. Drivers will find more time anyway. He goes within half a second. Hibbs goes quicker as well as they start to find the grip. Myga, he gets within 0.2 of Harris now. So they are finding the grip. They are finding the confidence. Harris is actually going wheel to wheel with a driver currently at the minute. It's Crespo. Schwarbert finds a bit more time. McGowan can only go third with that one. Skunky not set a lap time currently either. Flop goes to P5 as to the line now comes, I think, Varga. Yeah, he goes into P8 as most of the guys now going to struggle to get a lap time on the board. Smith crosses the line, and he gets across the line for enough time for a lap. Millington and Cracker the Monster all complete their lap times. Where does Mezin go? He goes top 2/10 faster. What can Harris do? Has he improved? Yes, he has. So Harris does improve and takes pole position here currently. A great lap time from him, but others are still on another lap. Where is Skunky in all of this? Skunky is in pit lane, so he's not gone out. Possibly has and made a mistake, so Skunky's going to be starting from the back. But Mezin has a pole position taken away from him by the man that is Harris. What a session from him. A good lap time set there. Can anyone now stop him from taking pole position? As we head and look at Micah, who's coming into the final sector. He's gone very deep and very wide. That'll be him done for this session. Hibbs is just ahead, and who's that ahead? It is Post. These guys did find an improvement, but that 1.6 lap time there from Harris is quite a significant lap time to beat. Here comes Post in the line. He goes P3 with that one. What does Hibbs do? No improvement from him. Flop still on a lap, as is McGowan as well. So lap time still to come. Just ahead of him, I think, is Flop. No, it's Schwarbert who comes to the line. And he now goes P3 with that one. McGowan to the line. Is he going to take pole? No, he takes fourth with that one. Flop, though, got very close. He gets close again. He goes P2 with that one. And now it's just Varga to the line. Where is this going to drop him into? 6th place position in the end. So it's Harris. Harris from Flop from Mezin. So Mezin fastest first sector. Harris fastest middle sector by quite a bit there. And the fastest final sector going the way of McGowan. But what a qualifying session. That goes the way of Harris ahead of Flop and ahead of Mezin to make your top 3. What a session that was. Very, very close.
Alright, we have some wet conditions. Watch out for curbs and exit.
And once again, we have these wet conditions to stay. It is going to lighten off, but not until 30 minutes. So it is going to lighten off a little bit later on, but the rain is here to stay. It's not going to clear fast enough at all for the dry conditions to really take a hold. But we'll see how this all pans out. It's going to be a very good race once again. Obviously, the dry qualifying obviously mixed the grid up quite significantly. Now we got a wet race. It'll be interesting to see where all this will fall into place. Obviously, the dry race beforehand, a dry qualifying beforehand, put the fastest guys towards the front. Then the wet came in, made the equalizer, and showed who was better in the dry and in the wet.
30 seconds.
And now we're in a scenario of a pure wet qualifying session and into a wet race here. But it is going to start to clear off a little bit later on. But I don't think significantly enough to really make that much of a difference.
10 seconds.
So we are looking forward to this one, guys. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell to be notified so you do not miss anything here at SimPlay Motorsport. Have a look in our description below as well. Give us a follow. Have a look in our description below to see our fantastic sponsors, Design Manchester and Audio Sport as well. Give them a like and follow in all their socials as we now start to get things underway here for the final race tonight. It is Harris who will start on pole position ahead of Flop in second. Then it's Mezin in third. Schwarbert will start fourth with McGowan in fifth. Varga in sixth with Post in seventh. Maiga starts eighth. Hibbs in ninth. 10th is Wilbrink. Then it's Anderson. Then it's the Monster. Lee, Millington, Crack, Ramsell, Smith, Crespo, Skunky, Johnson, and Marsden ended up returning to pit lane, so he will start from pit lane here. Reminder as well, guys, there's still action to come later on in the week. We still got the pros and the pro-ams hitting the circuit later on in the week, where you'll see Matthew Duffin and Langley, I believe, returning back to the commentary box. Hopefully Matthew's internet has sorted itself out, and he'll be bringing you all the action for Pro-Am with Langley after celebrating Thanksgiving in America. He is back and live and ready to come back with us again. And also tune into the pros on Thursday night, 2 weeks in a row where we've missed out on seeing some pro action. A lot of drama, a lot of high stakes that happened in the background, but either way, we look forward to a return for the pros, hopefully also on the stream, and we'll see what they can do around Kyalami. I'm not sure what the weather is looking like for the other classes. I think it's looking a little bit dry for the Pro-Am boys, and pro still yet to be confirmed a day beforehand, but it is looking like a nice a couple of weeks worth of racing. That's going to be fun for those guys. So the guys head into the final sector now and getting themselves prepped and ready to go for the final time tonight. Harris and Flop on the front row. Flop denied a race win earlier thanks to the contact. Weather tomorrow, no rain. Pro looks similar to this at the moment. Oh, lovely. I've got a lovely setup in the dry, and now it's going to be wet. Either way, anything can happen in the wet, and that's what we like to see. That's what likes to happen, and we shall see how it all pans out for them on Thursday night as well. So give us a like and a follow, and make sure you tune in for that one, because it's going to be an epic one nonetheless. Drivers though heading into the final corner. We are getting ready for the final time tonight for the Whodarron Cup, the M2 Championship. It is Harris and Flop on the front row for Team FBGB and Autobahn United. Who's going to take the win here? As you now wait for starters orders here for the final time in Kyalami. And we are green and go, racing here in Kyalami, and Harris got the jump that he needed. Meanwhile, Flop, he needs to get over as soon as he possibly can to defend off Mezin, who's trying to just sit in the toe of Harris and head up towards turn number one, but he's just missed his he got on the brakes a little bit later than the rest, and contact there by Flop, and they all concertina up as Mezin got a little bit brave into turn number one. A little bit of contact, and there is that the monster. Yes, it is. He's ended up contact and going round. He now goes to the back of the pack as they all try and survive the first couple of laps here. Meanwhile, Flop and Mezin go wheel to wheel. Varga banging doors there with Schwarber, I think, and is going to go down the inside of the right-hander. And Schwarber's going to try and keep it strong on the outside, but contact there by Varga, and it sends him round, and they all try and make sure they don't hit the back of Schwarber, but Schwarber holds back onto that position and keeps the rest of them behind. Meanwhile, McGowan with that start is right on the back of Flop and Mezin, but Harris has got the dream start he would have wanted and pulling away. Where's Skunky in all of this? Skunky is currently down in 17th place position and needs to work his way up the pack as quickly as he can. But as we go back to the normal cameras here, Harris with the jump that he needed, but Mezin's gone wide at the hairpin, and through goes Flop and McGowan. Onto the back of him now comes Varga, who's had a decent start here, but he's made contact with Schwarber, so Schwarber might not be too happy of that one. But Lee and Ramsel going wheel to wheel. Ramsel up the inside, ahead into the Crocodile, and looks like Lee is going to stay up the inside. Ramsel's going to have to go around the outside. Reminder, there is grip in the wet on the outside. And Millington and Skunky further back going wheel to wheel as Lee and Ramsel try and negotiate the cheetah together, and Ramsel gets back in front. So cars absolutely everywhere. Mezin once again just struggling in these wet conditions, but Harris gone into the distance and gained some good points. Fastest lap of the race to him as well. Flop in second, McGowan in third, Mezin fourth, Varga in fifth, Schwarber, then Post, Maiga, Hibbs, and then Wilbrink rounding off the top 10. Then it's Anderson with a great race here in the bronze category. Ramsel in 12th, Lee in 13th with Crespo, Skunky, Smith, Cracker Johnson now with the fastest lap of the race. DeMonster, Millington, and then Marsden managing to get going as well. Oh, it looks like I think that was Schwarber who is having he's overtaken Vargas. So Vargas had a moment by the 6. He's dropped behind Maiga also. Oh, Hibbs there running a little bit wide, as that's going to possibly allow Wilbrink a possible move up the inside. He's going to try and switch back underneath. He can't get the run, as Post now defending off Ramsel as well. Skunky's cleared another car. He's got past Crespo, so he's working his way up the order. But we go back to Hibbs and Wilbrink. Wilbrink, sorry, he's going to go around the outside. Can he get the job done? He's looking to get it done. As I said, there's grip there, but Hibbs does hold on to the position. He gets good exit and good traction. Meanwhile, just ahead of that group is Maiga, right up the back bumper of Schwarber. So Schwarber now got a car behind him, giving him a little bit of pressure, as Mezin now pulled away from these guys and is looking to try and get on terms with McGowan and Flop. And the Flop's made a mistake, and through goes McGowan up into P2. So McGowan on a charge here, as further back Schwarbert's made a mistake at the cheetah, and Maiga's going to try and get the job done. He's going to go around the outside. Again, he'll have the traction, he'll have the grip, and Harris sets fastest lap of the race once again. Mezin now sets it now, as these three are getting properly racy, as McGowan tries to defend from Flop, and Flop has to switch and come back around to the outside of one. He outbrakes McGowan. Is he gonna find the grip there? That's the question. He does, and gets the job done. So Flop, a brilliant move there, puts him back into second place position, and Maiga also getting ahead of Schwarber, Varga, and yeah, there's all concertinaing up quite nicely between those. And Harris is just gone. He's disappeared into the distance as McGowan's lost out to Mezin now. So Flop, with that brilliant move, has allowed Mezin that opportunity to get back past McGowan, but Flop and Mezin now going wheel to wheel. Mezin goes a little bit wide onto the curb. There's not going to be a lot of grip out there, but he has the inside now for the left-hander, and contact is made. He's then shoved off wide, and McGowan also now gains from that as well. So Mezin now back up to second place position, getting a bit boisterous at the same time with it. Schwarber though, and Varga heading down the S's. And they're all working their way through the S section at the minute. Millington and Post dropping that. Johnson's had a moment as Marsden, and now Crack gets close to the back of them. Anderson in a top 10 position here in the bronze class, looking good here, and he's actually trying to keep Ramsel behind him. But Mezin, meanwhile, still got McGowan for company. He's going to look up the inside of the Crocodile momentarily, but yeah, not able to get the job done there, as going very wide is Schwarber. Yeah, it is Schwarber that one time. He's really struggling in this race, as Varga right behind him. Maiga having another strong race here for the silver class. He's currently 5th overall, but leading the silver class group. But with all this going on, Harris crosses line with a gap of 5.2 seconds, and it's looking good for him. He's well out in front while everyone else is being racy, and you can see Maiga now attacking Flop, but also Varga is going down the inside of Schwarbert, and Schwarbert's trying to hang in there, but Schwarbert loses out in the end to Varga, and now Hibbs is on the attack, as Ramsel still can't find a way past Anderson, who wants to get a top 10 position. He'll be very happy with that if he can hold it there, but Ramsel there looking like he's had a move. Lee's had a moment on the curb himself, so he's got a bit sketchy and loose. And through the right hander, there you go. As Anderson, Ramsel, Lee, and now Skunky has joined the party, and Mezin trying to go with Harris now, but probably won't. As long as Harris keeps it on the black stuff, he should be okay. But Mezin goes a little bit wide once again. McGowan gets a little bit closer. The rain will start to ease off momentarily, but I don't really think it's going to make much an effect here. It's still going to stay wet. They are going to get slightly quicker, but yeah, it's not really going to make much of a difference. As there in the background, the Monster taking a very wide line onto the grass. He's going to be outperformed by his only sider's teammate, Anderson, who's been looking really good here. And everyone in the stat saying, watch out for him in the wet, as Lee's had his own moment. He's gone round. And yeah, Lee's had his own moment and he's spun it. As now Ramsell may have an opportunity to get past Anderson, but he's going to be on the wrong side. Crespo goes wide through the cheetah. And he's going to hold off as Wilbrink now attacks Hibbs. He's got a better exit out of the final hairpin, and they head up to the first corner. And Harris still extending the gap. 5.5 is the gap between himself and Mezin. Down the inside, Wilbrink will get the job done on Hibbs, and place gain for him. Meanwhile, Mezin still got McGowan for company, but Mezin goes a little bit wide onto the curb. Again, those curb scenes a little bit lethal. You see there, Varga going a little bit wide. Anderson has now lost out to Ramsell in turn number 1, and he's about to lose out by the looks of things to Skunky, who's right behind him as well. So, Ken's in the chat, top 10 would be awesome for Anderson. Sadly, it is not going to happen because Ramsell has taken it away from him. But Skunky's now on the scene as well, so possible top 12 for him instead. But McGowan now starting to come back at Mezin here. And you can see sometimes they want to touch the curb, other times they don't. So it's really, yeah, it's really interesting to see how this all pans out at the end, especially with people trying to take the risk, trying to go over the curbs, try and find the speed to just gain a little bit on their championship contender or drivers. Excuse me. As Mezin goes deep once again, and McGowan's going to be on the scene ready to pounce. And here we go. Is McGowan far enough alongside in the cheetah? No, he's not. But again, Mezin making a few little errors there. Meanwhile, further back, speaking of errors, Anderson has gone wide himself. And Skunky now coming through. And just... Ken's in the chat says Anderson would be top 11 for Anderson would be awesome, laughing emoji. Just as he says that, he loses another position to Skunky. So Skunky takes that away from him now, as McGowan has now got back past Mezin. So Mezin has lost another position, so he's gone from second, he's now to third. Flop meanwhile under pressure from Maiga. Maiga loving these wet conditions here, and really sticking to the back of Flop, hoping to make a mistake out of him. But your leader 5.5 earlier, it's now 5.8. Harris just checked out in front, long gone into the distance, and looking good for this one. Meanwhile, DeMonster has got himself ahead of Crespo, and who's that? Lee as well. And Anderson now is his next target, and his teammate. So it's in the chat said I quit. I know, just as you, I think he's in a solid P12 for this one. Meanwhile, Maiga is now attacking the outside of Flop, going into the hairpin. And Mezin also attacking McGowan, and McGowan now using the superior grip around the outside of the hairpin, stays ahead. And again, the more they race each other, the more Harris builds his gap. Maiga looking to attack Flop. Meanwhile, Mezin and McGowan both go extremely deep and very wide. And with all that going on, Flop and Maiga turn up on the scene. They're a bit slow, and Flop's trying to go around the outside. Mezin makes contact with McGowan, and through goes Maiga for that one. And then Varga ends up off as well. So Maiga, I think, no, Maiga is going to take second place. He gets a better exit. Yeah, Maiga now leads this group of cars. As Maiga crosses the line, and Harris now 9 seconds down the road. they're all tripping over one another and handing the win to the Team FBR driver. But Micah, is he going to take second place now? I think this is his best result if he does, but he goes up the inside of Mezin in these wet conditions here at Kyalami, really helping out Micah as Mezin is really on a defensive drive here. He loses out to McGowan earlier and he's about to lose out to Micah now, and he runs wide onto the grass. And Micah now into second place position. But here comes McGowan and Mezin. Once again, Mezin looks like he's got a better run. Even though he was on the curb, he had a better run. But Micah now into second place position with Schwarbert holding off Flop and Varga and Wilbrink. So Flop, after all that, dropping down the order. And Anderson quite happily ahead of... quite easily, sorry, ahead of... his teammates, so hopefully he will be secured a 12th place position. So you can say that one, Keynes, if you want, if you're feeling brave. But Micah holding on to now second place position behind two very, very fast gold drivers. And Mezin looks to go around the outside. He can't get the job done there as Micah defends it well. And here comes now McGowan. For a moment looked like he was going to have a run on Mezin. Mezin touching the curb. That is brave to do so. But Mezin and McGowan going wide earlier really opened the door for the opportunity for Micah to get through. And contact there from McGowan and Mezin. A little shoulder barging between those guys. Hibbs now is his turn to run wide. And McGowan now gets through ahead of Mezin. So we got a yellow flag who's gone off. I think the 5. Yeah, it is. I thought I saw a car go off wide. It is Varga, and he's ended up returning back to the pits. And what a shame there for Varga. But Micah now holding on second place ahead of McGowan, ahead of Mezin, and Schwarber again coming back at them. Meanwhile, further back, Ramsel having to defend from Skunky, who's trying to get himself into a top 9 position now, as now Varga has returned to pit lane. So that puts Anderson back into 11th place position. And here we see Post and Millington and Crespo. Post having not a good race here in the wet, really struggling here, but Anderson's going to gain some big points. Going to gain some big points in the Bronze Championship. We go back to the front here, and Micah still defending heavily from McGowan and Mezin. If anything, they're too busy watching themselves, and Micah is able to extend that gap. Then you got the Autobahn United duo following one another. To head up to the hairpin, and Mezin and McGowan not close enough to Micah. Micah driving brilliantly here as Skunky now looks to the inside of the hairpin on Ramsel, can't get the job done, and he got these three really close to one another, Crespo, Millington and Post. My steering got feed up at the moment and unsafe to rejoin, so Varga's car wheel sounds like it's in a bit of damage by the sound of things. The monster made a mistake there by the looks of things, and that's allowed Crespo, Millington and Post to get a little bit closer to him once again. But Micah still defending heavily from the guys behind. Across the line goes Micah, McGowan, Mezin, Schwarbert and Flop. And you got Wilbrink, Ramsel and Skunky there going wheel to wheel. Ramsel trying to break the toe ever so slightly. Then we got this gaggle of cars, and Millington has found a way back past Crespo, but Crespo's had a better exit. He's now coming through. But Crespo now going to try and go around the outside. But he can't get the job done. He's actually opened the door for Post to come up the inside. And Post goes through. Job done for him. Back to these guys once again. McGowan within range of Micah. Meanwhile, Harris's gap is 12 seconds. That's how much these guys have been fired. And McGowan's found a way through. either Maiga's made a mistake or McGowan's just sent it up the inside, but McGowan has got through on Maiga. Now Mezin wants the action. He wants to find a way through as the Autobahn United drivers struggle to go with them. But Mezin looking to the outside, but McGowan's made a mistake himself. The superior grip around the outside, by the list of things, is helping Mezin just stay alongside with Maiga. And Maiga gone from a P2, now possibly outside the podium as Mezin's looking for a way through. He touches the white line, the curb on the outside, which throws him wide. McGowan goes wide as well. And Mezin, once again, making a slight error that loses him an opportunity to try and get past these guys. Oh, we'll break onto the dirt and grass there as Skunky has got through on Ramsel. So that's a P8 position for him. Oh, sorry, they got past Hibbs. So Hibbs had his own moment as well. So, yeah, damage to his car. And Post now also getting past Millington. Can he catch? Oh, my God, that's Lee going very wide and into the wall. So a lot of drivers, I think, if anything, are struggling with the crocodile corner, and yeah, really struggling in that sequence of corners. But McGowan has now got ahead of Maiga, as Harris is probably on his last lap here, and Crespo's had to pit. Sorry. So he's coming to pit lane. Post and Millington still close to one another. But right to the very end, Harris though well out in front. 13.3 is the gap to this man. McGowan in second, Maiga in third, and Mezin in fourth, Flop fifth, Schwarbert sixth, Wilbrink seventh, eighth is Skunky, ninth is Ramsel, 10th is Hibbs, and Anderson rounding off the 11th place position, 9.5 ahead of the Monster, and looking good for a top 12 position. But I'm going to stay with our race leader. I'm pretty sure he's not going to go on to another lap. But two from three for this man. What a drive he has had. Harris is dragging himself back into the fight. And he's going to come home and score some decent points here. Harris, though, into the final corner from Team FBR. FBGB exits the final corner. Complete and utter domination here in race 3. Michael Harris wins the third race here at Kyalami. But who's going to round off the podium? Can Maiga get his first podium of the season? To the line we go. It is McGowan to take second place. Maiga will get on the podium. Mezin fourth. Flop drops behind Schwarbert in the end, who takes fifth. Then Flop, then Wilbrink. Skunky in the end finishes in the top 8, starting from the back. Ramsel in 9th. Hibbs in 10th. And Anderson comes out the final corner to gain 11th place position and big points in the bronze championship. The Monster, a night to forget for him, I think. 12th place in the end for him. Post in 13th, Millington in 14th. Smith in the end is 15th place position. A great job from him. Then it's going to be Johnson to round off the 16th place position. Crack in 17th. Marsden is going to finish 18th. And it's going to be Crespo ahead of Lee and then ahead of Varga. What a race that was, as Vargas had another moment over the cheetah. What a race that was. Awesome to watch. Brilliant commentating on it as well. And Harris, what a dominant drive from him there. We'll be right back as we'll have a quick break and then we'll have hopefully some interviews for Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and what a race we've just had. Absolute carnage, absolute chaos when the wet weather came, but one driver in particular looked completely dominant and in control of that one. Anyone who's finished under podium positions tonight, feel free to join me in the commentary box if they are listening in. But we do have one driver with us in the commentary box, and that is the man who's done the double tonight, and that is Michael Harris. And Harris, what a night for yourself. When the rain came, you were the rainmeister tonight. Fantastic job tonight, mate. Fantastic. How was the car in the wet? It seemed really, really good.
Oh, it was unreal. I couldn't fault it, to be honest. The first race when we had rain, race 2, I was a bit tentative, used a bit of traction control, and then obviously everything that went on in the last 5 minutes, I just turned traction off and found I was better out the corners. So yeah, I just managed to pull a gap on. I think it was Skunky and McGowan. But yeah, the car just really come alive when it was wet, especially in the qualifying session in race 3, and then again in race 3 it just kept my head down on with it, and luckily for me I think everybody else just kind of tripped over each other, so I managed to get a decent lead.
Sadly, I had no idea what you just said there because my headphones aren't working, but I'm pretty sure you're pretty happy with that one and scored some decent points in that. Obviously, these wet conditions seem to have favoured you a little bit here. Obviously, with not the MSA boys here able to gain yourself some good points in the championship, is it now just trying to keep yourself secure and keeping yourself in that top I think it's, yeah, you're in the top 10 now. You've gone up to 9th place position. Is that the plan now, just keeping yourself in the top 10 in the championship?
Yeah, pretty much. Just seeing each week as it comes, sort of thing. But yeah, hopefully, like I said, last week, hopefully MSA boys don't turn up again, and obviously they delivered this week, so thanks again. But yeah, we'll just see how it goes, and we'll hopefully get some decent points towards the end of the season.
And obviously now heading into the penultimate round of the season, we head to Circuit of the Americas for the penultimate round. I know in a certified Lexus that you weren't particularly too happy around there. What are your thoughts going into COTA, and what do you think you can get out of that? Well, nonetheless, mate, a fantastic job of night worth of racing from yourself, and an absolute domination there in the wet. Congrats, and we'll see you at COTA for the next round of the championship.
Yes, thank you very much. I'll see you there.
And that is it. I don't think anyone else is joining me in the comms box, and brilliantly done by there for Harris. He's going to get my driver of the day tonight. He drove fantastically well, and yeah, like I said, an awesome job. Anderson as well as a good driver also to mention in the driver of the day as well, but a brilliant job there from Harris. A quick run of the championship standings as they head into the final few races here. Kieran O'Reilly leads the way. McGowan in second, only 93 points behind him now, though. That's the problem for O'Reilly. With a couple of races missed, he has brought that gap down and is now between 93 points. Post in P3 with DeMonster now in P4, Schwarbert in P5, and Sylph dropping down to P6. Hibbs in P7, Harris now P8, and Skunky in P9. Flop in P10, Wilbrink, then Micah, Varga, Ramsel, Mezin, Kowalski, Marsden, Crespo. Then it's Nugamanov, Aberdeen, Anderson, Wright, Gillies, Lee, Smith, Shorowski, Millington, Parrow, Jacket, Johnson, Radek, Cox, Crack, O. And those guys are in those championship standings. Regarding the teams, MSA still got a big lead, but it is being cut down by the casuals. It is now only 176 points, and Apex Motorsport currently sat P3 with Autobahn United in P4. Only Side is now in P5 and still mathematically in the championship fight, but I'm afraid they might be knocked out going into COTA. Then we've got Greasy Bandits ahead of GBU Racing, SimPlay Racing, Racing, Kozik Racing, Team FBGB, then it's Minex Racing, Soldor Racing, Quantum Motorsport, Billy No Mates, Block and Sim Hub. For silver, it's Wilbrink, then Maiga, Varga, Crespo, Nugamanoff, Aberdeen, Gillies, Lee, Schwalski, Millington, Crack, Cox, Jacket, Cox, and Butcher. Regarding the bronze, Marsden still leads 123 points ahead of Anderson. So the gap has come down between them, with Smith in third, Parrow in fourth, Johnson fifth, and Crack in the sixth place position. That is it, guys, for the race here at Kyalami, but I will be back live tomorrow night for the action here at SimPlay Motorsport for the Pro-Ams. But from myself and everyone here at SimPlay Motorsport, it's a good night, and congrats to Harris tonight, who's been unstoppable in the wet conditions. Good night.